Hello and welcome back to the channel, guys. My name is Dan and I'm here to bring you another FPL video. In this one, we're going to be looking at my team selection ahead of game week 12. Now that the international break is all said and done, we can look forward to a lot more FPL moving forward between now and the new year. Of course, lots of games over the festive period, which means more game weeks and more chance to climb those ranks. So let's have a look at how I got on, which seems like almost a long time ago now, in game week 11. So 50 points all out, only 1 point above the average score, but not enough to secure me even a grey arrow on this in this situation. I'm now down to 1.3 million, which is a little bit disappointing at this stage in the game, but honestly, I just have to live with the decisions I've made. So for those that have followed the past few weeks, I nearly took a -4 a few game weeks away to bring in Mohamed Salah. Ended up choosing to go against the grain on that. Captain Haaland last week, of course, for 2 points. Captain Son this week, another blank for another 2 points, which has really put me behind the curve, I think, in terms of not only the points tally, but just the rest of my team just couldn't do enough to be able to secure me any type of green arrow this week. So there we go. It is what it is. I'm really disappointed, of course, with the Spurs Ipswich outcome. I really did think that Udogie could be a fantastic differential at the back there, only bringing 1 point. Of course, Son also blanking was that captain disappointment on that front. Fabianski and Ryan Aigner, from the defensive point of view, saving the game week. It did prove that choosing to play Fabianski over Sells was the right play this week. So happy with that choice. But as for the rest of the team, other than Cunha, really it was quite a disappointing week overall. So I'm glad it's all said and done. And now we can look ahead at game week 12 and we can have a look at what type of plans I've got moving forward. So really, I think the honest answer here is that Son has had his chance, and I just don't think that even when I've held him through those injury doubts and the reduced minute periods over the last few game weeks, it just hasn't yielded any reason to keep him. I did actually move Saka on for him back when Saka was a doubt before. I think it was in game week 8 when he was missing at Bournemouth. And ultimately, I think for the past few weeks, it's been okay with Son. He got me a similar return to what Saka did the following week. It's just not paid off fantastically, but ultimately I think Bruno Fernandes looks like a fantastic asset to own, even if it is just for these next 3 or 4 game weeks. I mean, Ipswich away and Everton at home in 12 and 13. Although, of course, Amorim's first game is an away match this weekend, I still think a Portuguese manager with a Portuguese captain and pretty much the most influential player you can probably have in this United team on penalties, I think it's just a no-brainer to bring him in. It does free up even more money for some interesting moves later on as well. So for one free transfer, I'm looking at doing this. Another alternative, which I haven't got a graphic for, is that I could do Son to Salah. Not entirely for free, though. I would have to do a -4 and bring someone like Gabriel down to, say, a Mazraoui. I'd have about 4.6 million, I think, to play with if there's no more price changes between now and me making any moves. So that is definitely something in the back of my mind. I think Salah at Southampton away could go absolutely huge and could be a great captaincy option this week. So there is that possible route too in my mind for a -4. But I just feel like I've missed the boat with Salah, because after Southampton, he has arguably 2 quite difficult fixtures with City and an improving Newcastle defensively. So I'm not too sure I want to jump on him at this point. I think I've made my bed and I maybe need to wait until at least game week 15 to bring Salah in. So that's where we're at for transfer plans for the week. Then if we look at captaincy data next up, then if you're new to the channel or you haven't seen this type of data before, ultimately I position it in this way where you've got the player, of course, on the left-hand side, the position that they mostly play. So this is kind of in terms of their heat map where they're most active on the pitch. We then have, depending on the opponent that they're playing in the game week, the middle column there is the key passes that opponent has conceded in the last 4 game weeks. So I don't look at the season. I only look at recent game weeks. I think that maybe gives us a better idea of how in form or out of form a team can be from a defensive point of view. So I like using that. Although there are very similar numbers across the board on this week. But then you can see the opposition's XGC non-penalty, again, in the last 4 game weeks. Of course, then we can see the players' overall FPL points scored in the last 4 game weeks, as long as they've had an appearance. So, for example, if we take Saka with a little asterisk there, he didn't actually feature in game week 8, so I've taken game week 7's data instead to add up, basically, to the 29 points. So, as we can see here, some interesting points. I guess, Salah and Bruno Fernandes definitely stick out as the optimal 2 here. You've got of course, Southampton for Salah conceding 8.18 XGC across the last 4 game weeks, and then with Ipswich 8.15. So very, very similar numbers there. Of course, Haaland has got Tottenham at home. So Tottenham are about mid-table in terms of those defensive numbers. They've not been fantastic. They've been quite inconsistent. Of course, Postecoglou's come under a little bit of pressure recently as well about that inconsistency. And of course, this is at the Etihad. And in terms of Haaland's XG performance, he is way under par in terms of what his data is suggesting. So I think this could be an optimal week to captain him as well. I think if you're a Haaland owner, you definitely can put it on him. If you are someone that owns Haaland and Mohamed Salah, though, I've still got to, I think, back the Egyptian king to go massive here at Southampton away. I do think he probably is the standout captain. May even be a triple captain for some of you. But as you can see here, these are the 3 options that I would choose. It's either got to be Haaland, Salah, or Bruno Fernandes this week, in my opinion. Me personally, at the moment, I have got the armband on Erling Haaland. I'm not too sure I'll sway from that. I want maybe a little bit of safety there to some degree. But, you know, he's only scored 15 points in the last 4 weeks. So it's not been massive hauls for him. And this is probably why I'm 1.3 million at this point, right? Missing, of course, Mohamed Salah. But let's jump into how the team is going to be shaping up then. So first of all, the defensive assets. We've got Fabianski in goal against Newcastle away. So we've got 2 unfavourable fixtures, unfortunately, for my goalkeepers this week. I've got Nottingham Forest playing Arsenal. And of course, that means Matt Sells is on the bench once again. I just feel like Fabianski's maybe got more opportunity to keep a clean sheet, although Matt Sells probably has arguably maybe more options for save points. So I'm kind of toing and froing between the 2, but at this point in recording, it is Fabianski in nets at the moment for me. I've then got Mykolenko, Ryan Aigner and Gabriel all in that defensive line. I'm really not happy with this defensive line at all this week. I haven't got options because I chose to bring in Udogie for that Ipswich fixture with an unfavourable one this week with City away, which means I can't play him. And of course, I've got Greaves playing Manchester United. So I don't feel like any of those options can really come into play for me. This means I'm playing the best 3 options that I have in my team. But honestly, I don't see big things coming from these guys. I think we can swiftly move on to the midfield. And as you can see here, I am planning, I think, more than likely to go for the Bruno Fernandes move over the -4 with Mohamed Salah. That could change. But ultimately, I think it's a good fixture for Bruno for the next few weeks. I think Son has, of course, City, which he could score in, and Fulham next week. So arguably 2 kind of mixed bag fixtures. But I think Bruno in form, under a new management as well, Portuguese guy as well, that's looking fantastic in terms of his press conferences and everything else that he's done so far. I think it looks great for United moving forward, and he's just the asset that I'm interested in. Of course, Leicester away for Palmer as well, currently flagged as yellow, but I think we've seen snapshots of him in Chelsea training, so I don't see any reason that he won't feature. Maybe one of those captaincy options as well for some of you. We've then got Mbeumo playing Everton away, so not ideal that I've got him playing Mykolenko in the defensive position, but hopefully attacking returns from both of them is the best bet that I can maybe have here. Semenyo also yellow flagged alongside Mbeumo. Brighton at home, arguably a good fixture at the moment because Brighton haven't been keeping clean sheets. Semenyo maybe a little bit of a mixed bag in terms of his performances. Of course, his biggest haul of the season so far coming against arguably the toughest opponent in Manchester City, which I benched him for. But ultimately, I think he's still got that, talismanic element to his gameplay, and I think absolutely a cheap asset to be playing this week. And then, of course, we've got Rodgers at Crystal Palace at home. So really happy with this midfield 5 if I do make that move from Son to Bruno Fernandes. And that's where I'm hoping I can catch up or kind of make some ground on Salah owners and Salah captainers if I do choose to put the armband on someone like Haaland or a differential. Moving into the front line then, it is Haaland and Cunha up front. Of course, Fulham away for Cunha. Not maybe, again, the easiest fixture on paper. Fulham do tend to do quite well at Craven Cottage. But ultimately, I still think that Cunha's data and Wolves between now and I think it's pretty much like game week 20 or something like that, their fixture run is absolutely insanely good. So I think he holds a tremendous amount of value, and very happy that I brought him in last week for his 12-pointer. And then, of course, as mentioned, Haaland underperforming in terms of his XG numbers at the moment. Tottenham at home looks like a good fixture for him, I think, from an attacking point of view. So looking forward to seeing what he can do. That then brings us finally into the bench and captaincy decisions. So at the moment, I have got the armband on Haaland as mentioned. Vice sat on Bruno Fernandes at the moment, but honestly, that could change come deadline. If I choose to bring in Mohamed Salah for that -4, I could consider captaining him. Palmer is also another shout as well, and even Bruno Fernandes in his own right as well could be a fantastic captaincy shout after his haul against Leicester. So yeah, on the bench we do have then Sells, our Arsenal away. I'm not too sure I'll swap this at this point, but who knows? Maybe I think that this could be a very tight game. It's at top of the table. Forest are doing very, very well this season, so who knows? Of course, with Wood playing Arsenal away, I just think Arsenal's defensive numbers are so good that this could be a lockout for Wood, and he could find it really difficult to get any attacking returns. So I think out of my midfielders or any of my attackers, I'm not really seeing where I could bench one and play Wood above them. Let me know in the comments below, though, if you disagree with that. Maybe you would play Chris Wood on ahead of some of these guys. Let me know in the comments below. With Udogie, as mentioned earlier, we've got, of course, Manchester City away. So very, very difficult fixture for him. Don't think I'll be playing him this week. And then, as mentioned as well, Greaves with Man United at home. So I think I'm firmly set on this team. It's just really a choice of captaincy and then whatever transfers I do. So that's where we're at, guys. Moving then finally to close the video off, just a shout out to the mini league. Of course, it is just for fun and bragging rights ultimately, but of course, some very familiar names in here across the community that have supported me for a long time. So Patrick Floor, of course, you're now in second place there, 711 points though, doing very, very well in terms of your overall. Janice Thung on the top of the charts there. I do see some other names as well that I recognize. Jan Aigner down in 8th. You, of course, won one of my prize leagues. When I was keeping up with content a little bit more. Tino as well, welcome back to of course, the channel if you end up viewing this video, but ultimately sitting there in 9th as well. Great to see so many of you doing so well, but I think we're okay to sign the video off there, guys. So thank you very much for tuning in to this one. I will, of course, be putting out more content across the festive period, more game weeks. I mean, probably faster paced content as well, you might be happy to know. So, of course, do hit that like button if you enjoyed the content in any way. Make sure to subscribe as well for any future content notifications. And, of course, I will then see you in the next video soon, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.